Hello, you're on Initiative Africa. My name is Asha Sampath. Welcome to this new edition of your weekly magazine featuring Africa on the move through smart innovations and initiatives that work. Let's get on with the show with our top stories today. Captain Frédéric Barbe, the commander of the French surveillance frigate Nivôse, which patrols the Indian Ocean, is our guest this week again for the second part of his interview. He shared with me some of his missions, which mainly consist in fighting against illicit activities and illegal immigration.
When we talk about piracy, we are talking about acts of violence, theft, even the hijacking of boats, even hostage-taking that take place on the high seas.
The navies of African countries are strengthening their capacities to better track pirates in the Gulf of Guinea, an area that has become a trafficking hub.
African countries have their economy, which depends deeply on offshore oil resources.
Traditional African music has its place in contemporary rhythms, and it is demonstrated by this Ghanaian band, the Twerampon Traditionals.
African tradition, your father is the one you learn from.
Drones that carry bags of blood, draw maps, or even monitor livestock, these small remote-controlled flying devices have arrived in force in Africa.
The return trip used to take 3 hours. Now I have the blood I need 20 minutes after ordering it, and we get it straight to the patient.
Illegal fishing, armed attacks on tankers, hostage-taking, piracy of all kinds. Smuggling in the Gulf of Guinea accounts for a growing part of global attacks. According to the International Maritime Bureau, 135 maritime kidnappings were recorded last year, and 130 took place in the Gulf of Guinea. African naval troops are strengthening their technical capabilities in this gigantic area stretching from Senegal to Angola, with the help of US AFRICOM, who had seen a multinational naval exercise. Take a look.
These soldiers are gearing up for a battle against a daunting enemy, threatening countries in the Gulf of Guinea. Thieves and pirates roam the high seas from Las Palmas to Angola, trespassing in the territorial waters of at least 15 different nations. Since 2005, there has been a steady increase in the number of attacks on oil tankers, and maritime crimes has risen steadily, in particular kidnappings, which continue to this day. It is estimated that $2 billion is lost each year to the Blackbeards of the 21st century.
African countries have their economy, which depends deeply on offshore oil resources. Imagine an instance, if people who are producing petrol, they felt themselves uncomfortable and they decided to stop producing this petrol. That will be a mess. At least 20 or 40% of the budget of different African countries comes from offshore oil resources.
Lack of security on the high seas and within countries' territorial waters is a serious threat to the continent's economy. The defense of these waters is a constant worry for the nations concerned, as well as their European, American and Chinese trading partners. AFRICOM, the United States Africa Command, regularly mobilizes African states for maritime exercises. The Opangame Saharan Express naval exercise mobilized 27 nations and 35 naval vessels, a testimony to the importance of cooperation and information sharing in the war against the thieves and pirates that infest the ocean.
This exercise occurs every year, and it's an effort to gauge progress and to tailor training for the future. There's a tremendous will among the African nations that I've had the opportunity to work with to progress both with equipment and with their training and to continually improve. I think the entire region is very near a positive tipping point, and to make a case for their maritime strategy and the future of their navies would be something that would be done in each individual country.
Africa's navies now face the task of ridding their territorial waters of the pirates that attack oil tankers and seize hostages for ransom. They must stop boats fishing illegally and prevent the illicit trafficking of arms and medicines. The nations around the Gulf of Guinea have developed regional strategies and are working together to share information to defeat their common enemy.
In the Yaoundé Code of Conduct, they delineated zones throughout the Gulf of Guinea. Each individual zone is comprised of several countries, each with their own individual maritime operations center. Each maritime operations center controls the country's water space and reports back to the zone for that particular area. So it's a shared information network. The intent is to develop an awareness of what's out at sea, to cure sea blindness, and to share information to combat crimes at sea.
Clear strategies and greater cooperation have paid off. Increased patrols in the Gulf of Guinea have helped cut maritime crime by almost 20%. But policing the high seas is expensive and a logistical challenge. Many developing nations just don't have the resources. Therefore, calling on the major foreign powers affected by these acts of piracy to share the burden is crucial.
A ship like my former ship that I was commanding, the Bakassi, who is over there, when I was going offshore, I was asking for 50,000 liters. And people were saying that that is enough. But it is not enough. 50,000, it is just for a patrol boat 50 meter long. But it is enough for our countries. But when we see the job that we are doing, the benefit of our job at sea, which permits to increase our income, we can say that it is not, we do not have to simplify it. Partnership is something which is very, very important in terms of dealing with this kind of fighting against asymmetric threats like piracy. It is a threat which is dynamic. It does not remain in a country. It goes from border to another border. And you need information sharing. And here in Obangwe, one of our objectives is to develop information sharing.
While progress can be seen from a maritime perspective, the war on piracy also needs to be taken inland, cutting the pirates off from their criminal networks. As long as counterfeit goods find willing buyers on the black market, the pirates are prepared to take their chances, no matter how well trained and equipped the naval patrols may be. And in this area, there is still much to be done.
Our guest, Captain Frédéric Barbe, is one of those French soldiers who maintain peace and security far from the Gulf of Guinea, on the other side of Africa. In the middle of the Indian Ocean, he is the commander of his vessel, the French surveillance frigate Nivôse, and is engaged in the hunt for pirates and smugglers, but also in providing assistance to people in danger. I met with him in Saint-Denis, the capital of Réunion Island, where he told me about his latest assignments. Let's listen to him. So it's not just terrorism, what about piracy and maritime robbery?
Indeed, it is not only terrorism, so we have to make a difference between piracy and robbery or brigandage. Brigandage consists of acts of theft or violence that take place in territorial waters or in the immediate vicinity of the coast. This means that only the coastal state can intervene. We are the French National Navy. I have absolutely no right to intervene in Madagascar or Tanzania without the consent of the authorities. They are free and fortunately sovereign over their territory, and it is up to them to ensure protection vis-à-vis these acts of brigandage. However, when we talk about piracy, we are talking about acts of violence, theft, even the hijacking of boats, even hostage-taking that take place on the high seas. And once we are on the high seas, everyone, all state signatories of the Montego Bay Convention have the right to intervene, to put an end to an act of piracy. This was specifically the case, and is still the case, for the European operation Atalanta, which operates offshore in the Gulf of Aden and in the northern Arabian Sea, particularly off the Somali coast. Today, piracy seems to be dwindling, with fewer acts of piracy than what was observed a decade ago. However, it is a phenomenon that still exists and that we must continue to fight.
Does the COVID crisis have an impact on the number of recorded incidents?
Alors, oui et non. Well, yes and no. Unfortunately, no, as there are people who want to do illegal things. They will continue to do them. They are not going to stop because of COVID. The health crisis has no impact on their willingness to operate and to continue to carry out unlawful acts on the high seas. On the other hand, unfortunately, it has a negative impact on illegal maritime traffic since, as most airports have been closed and most countries have closed their borders, all land and air routes have been strongly affected by this health crisis. Consequently, maritime routes and ports have remained open for supplies. Once again, 90% of goods are transported by sea. Therefore, all coastal countries have continued to trade by sea, and the unlawful traffic, which ordinarily sometimes passed by land, has increasingly become maritime traffic. In any case, this is what we have observed over the past year.
Talking about the COVID, a word on the resilience operation.
Well, the resilience operation I can speak very little about, since in fact I did not participate directly. In any case, not with the Nivôse. On the other hand, I know that the Malin, which is a patroller of the armed forces of the South Indian Ocean Zone and shares the same port here in Réunion, brought oxygen cylinders to Mayotte as aid for civilians and the hospitals there. And in fact, Operation Resilience is, in a much broader way, the military's contribution to an interministerial operation involving all the ministries. The operation is about providing the French people with all the support we can in three main areas. The military's health service, which makes it possible to deploy doctors from field hospitals, and that's what was done. Well, we can do this in the field of logistics, since we have strong means of transport. We can do this in the area of material transport support and population aid. Here, too, we can provide a significant contribution to the general population.
Now I'd like to focus on this geographical area in question. Why is this area between the Mozambican coast and the north of Madagascar a hunting ground for pirates?
Alors, on a dans cette zone une conjonction d'intérêts.
Well, this is an area with fairly significant converging interests between sometimes traffickers who have been trafficking various goods for years. You have trafficking of precious woods, sometimes of cement or of illegal fishing. And it turns out that by using these traditional routes, you can also smuggle all kinds of other goods, such as drugs, which of course finances terrorist networks. However, in terms of piracy, the general image of Somalian piracy is happening further north of the Mozambique Channel.
De la piraterie au large des côtes somaliennes se passe plus au nord du canal du Mozambique et vraiment au large des côtes somaliennes.
It's really off the coast of Somalia, and more specifically in the Gulf of Aden. We actually see more robbery than piracy in the Mozambique Channel, even if it is still relatively limited.
You mentioned it earlier in the first part of this interview, illegal immigration. What can you tell us about illegal immigration in this area?
Well, France's main concern is obviously illegal immigration between Comoros and Mayotte. The surveillance frigate is not involved much in this operation. As you can see, it is a fairly large vessel measuring 93 meters in length, 5 meters of draft, and it is a ship suitable for deep sea and high seas conditions. And actually, as far as illegal immigration to Mayotte is concerned, it is really an inter-administration cooperation with much lighter vessels, with intervention speedboats armed by the gendarmerie, by the air and border police under the aegis of the Navy via the Mayotte Naval Base and the Mayotte State Action Command Post. But the surveillance frigates participate relatively little insofar as they are too large and not maneuverable enough to intercept the so-called kwassa, which are small fishing boats used to transport illegal immigrants from the Comoros Islands to Mayotte. However, when we sail close to Mayotte, we participate to the best of our capabilities, that is, with our radar, which can detect boats quite far away, and especially with our onboard helicopter, which can detect illegal immigration boats at a great distance.
Commander Barbe, to finish on a fresh note of optimism, a quick word about this Vendée Globe with the rescue of Kevin Escoffier by the Nivôse.
Yes, it's a great memory for the whole crew, although it was a bit rough at the start, and quite refreshing, as you mentioned. I'm going to take you into the roaring 40s and furious 50s, where the water is 4 degrees and not 28 degrees, like here, where the wind blows at 35, 40, 45 knots, including 70 km/h winds. We were at that time
time on sovereignty patrols, monitoring the fishing areas around the Kerguelen archipelago, when my operational controller called us to see if we could try to transfer Kevin Escoffier, who had already been recovered by Jean Le Cam, and to transfer him to the Nivôse and bring him back to Reunion Island. So it was not a rescue operation, since it was Jean Le Cam who rescued him. Once again, he was the hero in this affair. We had to sail up to Jean Le Cam and try to bring Kevin Escoffier on board. Now, to reach Jean Le Cam, we had to weather a storm for 5 days, crossing hollows of the order of 5 to 6 meters high waves and strong winds. The weather conditions were a little bit rough, quite harsh, for both the boat and the crew. And then we were lucky to have a good weather forecaster who helped us find the break in the weather, and we managed to drive the safe transfer and retrieve Kevin Escoffier on board. It is an excellent memory because he spent 4 days on board during our transit to Reunion Island. He brought a lot to the crew through his experience of great navigators, and it was really something very positive for the crew. And then I believe at the moment conveyed a very strong message on the solidarity of seafarers and on the values held by the French Navy.
Commander Frédéric Barbe, thank you very much for welcoming me on board.
Je vous en prie, merci à vous, Acha.
Welcome back to the second part of our show. We're now returning to the west of the continent. I'm now taking you to Ghana, a country where traditional music does not remain in the attic. Quite the contrary, since groups of musicians have decided to dust off these traditional rhythms to include them in more contemporary repertoires. Our journalist John Awotwi met the Twerampon traditionals and they told him about their approach to give new life to traditional drums. A pleasure for the ears. Meet the Twerampon Traditionals, a Ghanaian band playing a new sound showcasing the rich traditional music of Ghana mixed with Western instruments and rhythms. The group breathes new life into asafo, a traditional music of war and social mobilization, or kete, a form of music once used to entertain the royal household and its guests. The group is led by Okirema Kwamena Pra, a master drummer born in the Akan Asafo group. According to Akan tradition, he must take over after his father was also a master drummer. Indeed, children play the cue of the real drum for fun and to entertain. Once identified as excellent players, they are allowed to play their father's instrument at official ceremonies. Okirema Kwamena Pra learned to play guitar from Kwamensa, one of Ghana's earliest high-life music artists, before studying contemporary music at the university.
In Akan tradition, your father is the one you learn from. I started drumming at the age of 3 because at my area, this as a company used to perform when someone dies or when the chief at that time wanted to put across any message for developmental project or whatever you want them to do. The asafo drum will be sounded, and the master drummer or the divine drummer will summon everybody to the chief's palace. At a point, I decided to compose my own music in the traditional parlance. So I bought an acoustic guitar, and so Eja Kwamensa of blessed memory, one of the first Ghanaian to record. So he gave me some tutorials.
In recognition for his long-standing contributions to the promotion of traditional music, Okirema Kwame Pra was recently honored by the Ogwa Traditional Council of Cape Coast in central Ghana. During the event that was held to honor him and others like himself, the Twerampon Traditionals group performed the popular Ghanaian favorite, Welcome Home, by the Osibisa Band. Bessa Simons is the president of the Musician Union of Ghana and member of the Osibisa Band.
A lot of music is challenging our music on the airwaves. And for our music to go out there, we need to support our own music. Like what Otrema is doing. Anytime they play, you can feel the authenticity in our music. And this is what we have to take out there. This is what we are, and this is what we do. To take it out there global, we have to support and promote our music.
He has his base here in the Cape Coast Castle, where he teaches traditional folk music as well as the more contemporary highlife music.
My idea is to train the younger generation who want to go into music, to learn different types of music so that they can exhibit or show it to the whole world. That we, apart from the high life, we have other musical types or the rhythmic patterns that the world does not know.
Many come to learn how to play the drums and bells and other traditional musical instruments.
I like doing this because I just want to help the youth and the children to know more of our tradition and to be useful in future.
We should not let the other music distract us from learning our local dialects and music. Traditional music is the best. They should find a traditional band or anything to join and learn everything that they want to learn, because learning from there you go out better.
For this music to have a great impact on a global scale, there's still a lot to be done. Okurema Kwamena Pra, who has performed in shows and participated in international workshops, is at the forefront of promoting this unique form of traditional Ghanaian rhythms. Using drones to bring blood bags to health facilities in need, Rwanda has done it and even has an airfield for drones. In neighboring Tanzania, the capital Dodoma has also called on these small remote-controlled planes to map the country at low cost. Our journalist David Thiombiano had explored the first examples of this drone revolution in Africa. Take a look.
In the Morogoro region of southwest Tanzania, Savina and her family have just one wish: to see an end to the perpetual disputes about agricultural land rights. If they held the land deeds, that wish could so easily come true.
Sometimes people say that they are aware of the boundaries, but then they invade another farm. And if you ask them, they will claim the farm is there, because with the current system, the plots that we own are not properly assessed. So we do not have the title deeds, which means our farming activities are uncertain. In that case, it's inevitable to have land conflict.
Improved land use requires geographical data and precise cartography. In the past, this would require the use of aeroplanes and satellites. Now, all you need is a drone.
In Tanzania, the last photography was in 2008 because the expenses to cater for the aerial photography is higher, and that's why we go for other alternatives. Other alternatives is like using the satellite imageries and now the technology of UAVs. The UAVs are unmanned aircrafts. You don't have pilot, you don't have a crew member. There are a lot of things that you are saving. So that's a very simple technology.
Thanks to the drones, the Tanzanian government has been able to provide 300,000 farmers with land titles. Now that boundaries are clearly established, farmers like Savina can foresee a more stable future and start making plans.
Our expectations are that after they've identified the boundaries of each plot, we will carry on farming, but we will have a title so we can get a loan and invest in our farms, so that we can improve our lives.
Tanzania's drone revolution all began several years ago with a series of tests. Uhuru Labs were experimenting with the possibility of using new technologies to limit the effects of natural disasters. The drone soon proved itself to be an essential tool in the decision-making process.
The initial interest was to map a very flood-prone area in Dar es Salaam to get aerial imagery which will show clearly the impact of the flooding straight after the floods. The other reason was to get detailed elevation data, which then can be given to city planners to predict how floodwaters or rainwater will move through the area, and so can appropriately plan. And as you can imagine, drones get a lot of people talking, so Ministry of Lands was about to start this very large land tenure project.
With its drones, the Zanzibar Land Commission has the right tools to draw up high-resolution maps of Tanzanian islands in the Indian Ocean. A total land surface area of 2,300 square kilometers.
Initially, when we fly with aerial mapping in 2004, we get the aerial mapping with the resolution of 25 centimeters. But now with drone, over all the land, we will fly with the resolution of 7 centimeters. So this will be very good. Resolution is amazing. Everything you can see.
In neighboring Rwanda, drones also improved healthcare. This small device carried blood bags to a hospital located on the other side of the country, where a patient urgently needed a transfusion to survive.
I was walking along when I got knocked down by a motorbike. I got the blood I needed very quickly. It was almost miraculous. I really don't know how to tell you how I felt. It was like a miracle from Jesus. The return trip used to take 3 hours. Now I have the blood I need 20 minutes after ordering it, and we get it straight to the patient.
For the past 2 years, the drone has been an integral part of Rwanda's healthcare system. Its mission? To save lives, and it does so by delivering blood bags and medicine to 21 hospitals in the southern and western provinces. Rwanda has even had an aerodrome built for drones and has hired the services of a leading robotics company, Zipline, to handle the drones.
The first thing is to expand it to other regions, and secondly, we are looking at other products that can be delivered through with the drones services. There are some vaccines that are used in emergency, like anti-rabies, snake venom, anti-serum.
Copy that. That's 27, right?
If we can find ways in which technology enables the empathy workforce, the health workers, the education workers, and the child care specialists, those who take care of older people, if we can do that, then we might just be able to get out ahead of the wave of technology that we fear is going to lead to huge job losses.
Blood from the skies, land disputes diffused, the impact of natural disasters reduced. The use of drone technology has meant a giant leap forward in the process of improving the day-to-day lives of millions of Africans, which inevitably raises a key question. They are cheap, they are effective, and they are versatile. So why aren't African nations jumping at the chance to enroll their services in their development strategies?
Well, that's it. Initiative Africa is over for today. A big thank you to the FAZOI, the Armed Forces of the South Indian Ocean Zone, for welcoming me on board of the French surveillance frigate Nivôse. And of course, you can find Captain Frédéric Barbe's interview on our website, africaonair.com. You can also find us on all our social media platforms. Feel free to share, like, and comment using the hashtag Initiative Africa TV show. And do not forget, next week, same time, same channel. I'll see you again with a new edition of Business Africa. Have a great week, everyone, and goodbye.